beautifuls. So today we are doing one of my beautiful clients, Asia. Asia, I've actually been doing her hair for about 3 years now. She actually met me before I got in the shop. Thank you, girl, for sticking with me. So Asia came in. She wanted to try some box braids in a bob type of look. Now she does exercise a lot, so she wears it half up, half down. So the way that I had sectioned it off in two parts, that kind of helps her to wear that, look that she desires. As far as with this, she did not want the pre-stretched look at the bottom of it, so I had to end up using rubber bands to hold it in place, basically. And you will kind of start seeing that look everywhere, kind of, sort of. It's just basically like box braids and a bob, but instead of burning them, you just add the rubber bands and cut it about 1 centimeter away from the rubber band. But yeah, so Asia came to me wanting that look, and of course I'm going to give her what she wants. Just a little tip, the product that I am using is called Lock and Style. Their Instagram is at Lock and Style. So when you are parting, I would recommend right after you, like the first time that you part, take some product and run it right across the part, as you'll see me doing a few times. And basically what that does is just cleans the product, it cleans the part up, and it also helps you to see any mistakes that you may have made the first time. It makes a major difference. Now Asia does have 4C hair, basically meaning that her hair is pretty coarse. And because of that, what I do is while I'm braiding it, I'll add product as I'm going. And what that does is just help her hair strands to be a little more straight and detangled, and it helps it to blend into the braids a whole lot better, and it makes it easier just for me to braid it. Because if you are used to braiding, and if you are a braider watching this video, you know that when you are braiding very thick hair, the thicker the hair it is, the tighter you have to make the braid. So putting that product on the strands as you're braiding, it helps with that a whole lot. Another tip, sometimes if it do get tangled at the end, which it definitely does happen, if it gets tangled at the end as you're braiding, as far as her actual hair, then you'll just take a comb and you'll comb through it and it'll blend right into the braiding hair, as you'll see me doing a few times. But yes, so this is my girl Asia, and again, we just doing some box braids into a bob with the rubber band method at the end. Now, another tip is do not be hesitant when it comes to using product. Use as much product as you want. Whatever makes you comfortable, use it. Because see, the thing is with braids, especially with coarse hair, that product gives it that neat look. So don't be afraid, because I used to be like that, to where I'm just like, I don't want to use too much product, because I guess I used to be afraid that it'll cause buildup. It does not cause buildup. Not with the product that I use. Now, I have heard of other braiders using beeswax, but I'm not really a fan of beeswax. Why? It's because not only does it coat the cuticle and it causes oil not to get into the hair, but it also is very hard to wash out. I've had a lot of clients, especially when it comes to ponytails, trying to get the extended ponytail up. I've had clients that would say that the beeswax that they've used before would be difficult. I've never personally used beeswax, but from hearing it from other clients, getting it done from other beauticians is hard to get out of the hair. I don't even use it for my lock clients. I use the Lock and Style. Not only does it give it a good hold, but it also gives it a good shine. It doesn't cause the hair to be white, and it also doesn't flake up, and it helps it to last longer also. I highly recommend Lock and Style. But yeah, so as I'm parting now, something you will see me do is I'll part the hair in two sections, and that's basically making it kind of an oval at the top, and then separate it from the back and the front. Now, what that does for me is it gives it a fuller effect in the back, because like I said, we're trying to do a bob, and since she is getting them large, she is getting the box braids large, you don't want it to look kind of like very thin at the end of it. So you want to have a full effect, especially with it being bigger braids, because you know bigger braids means less braids. And because I want her to have a fuller effect, I braid them like I'm plaiting, basically. Like, you know, when you plait into the scalp, you're braided a certain way. It's like basically I do that to give it a flatter and fuller effect. But when I get to the front, I braid it like going to the side. Because that helps it to lay down flatter also from the front, and also it gives it that bob effect. Now all braiding, I don't do it like that, but I only do it like this because she wanted that bob look. Another tip, as far as parting is very important, because that's really what kind of makes the hairstyle itself, besides, you know, just the braiding itself. But parting is very, very important, because you don't want it to, if you have neat parts and it gives it a neat hairstyle, you know. And so even with the like after you part the line straight across for the row, and then you start parting the squares, even run product down there. I mean, I didn't do that with this because I had put enough product on it, but if that helps you to get a cleaner part, definitely run it through there. Sometimes I've even seen people go ahead and make their squares and go ahead and make their squares and put product on it so that they wouldn't have to worry about that row. They just go on and on and on. And if that works for you, definitely go for it. But me personally, for this particular hairstyle, I just went as I go, you know. It doesn't make any difference. You know, like I said, it's always your preference. Whatever makes you comfortable, as long as the client is happy and has a smile on her face when she leaves your seat, that's all that matters. But yes, when you're parting that oval, that part that separates the back from the front, make sure that you're standing either in the front or the back. Try not to stand, like, go back and forth, because it'll kind of make it a little crooked a little bit. And the reason why is because you're getting two different angles from the front than you are the back. So just try your best, even though sometimes I know it's a little difficult. Try your best to try to stay like in one certain area so that when you do part it, it will look straight. Vice versa, going back and forth. Something else that you'll see me doing for the back and also for the front, especially when I start getting to the top, is I started feeding the hair in. And the reason of that is because, you know, a pre-stretched hair gets smaller at the bottom as you go, you know, further down into the braid. So what I had to do, because I'm not, you know, because I wanted to kind of look full at the end when I cut it, I started feeding the braids in themselves. Feeding the braids in with, you know, other pieces of hair. I didn't use too much of it because, like I said, something that you will realize when you start braiding a lot, if you aren't already a braider, is that if their hair is thick, you don't have to use that much hair. But depending on the length of the hair and the length of the braid that they are going for, you might have to add braiding hair at the end of where their hair stops at, just for it to give it that fuller effect. But because it was pre-stretched hair, I had to start adding it at the end as I got to the top, just to give it a fuller effect, because I didn't want it to look small at the end, because, you know, they give you like some small braids at the top, and then you have the, you know, your fuller ones other places, and it just doesn't make it look organized. So for it to look good, I had ended up just feeding it in as I got further to the top. Something else that you'll notice that I'm doing is, like what I had said in the beginning, combing through it. I started doing that more in the middle because she does have coarser hair in the middle of her head, which that's totally normal. I mean, even before I had got my locks, the back of my head was more coarse than the top of my head, and that was mostly just because I laid it on the back of my head. It doesn't mean anything. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that's just how it is, being natural. But yes, so yes, just to continue to do that. And also for this desired look, if you ever, you know, are trying to do this look, dip it at the end, which you'll see me do that at the end of the video. But yes, just dip it into some water. I definitely recommend a kettle. Like, that helps so much. Vice versa, trying to do it in a pod. I mean, you got to do what you have to do, whatever you have, babe. I get it. Definitely been there. But if you can get a kettle at the time, definitely go for that. It's an amazing investment. They sell them at Walmart for probably like $20-something, and it's definitely worth it. But yes, dip it at the end. Dipping, what it does is basically it kind of it not only does it loosen up the end of the braid, because you know when you braid it, you're going to kind of make it tight at the end, so it's going to look a little stiff. But dipping it, it kind of loosens it up a little bit, and also it kind of burns. It doesn't burn the end, but it seals it to where it looks more uniform. How about I say that? Which you'll definitely, it makes a major difference. You'll definitely see that at the end of the video. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all finish watching the video, and I'll see you guys when I get to the top. Okay, we have officially made it to the top. Yay. Thank y'all so much for sticking with me this far. I really, really appreciate it. We just got a little bit longer to go. Okay, so at the top, what you're going to see me doing is I'm braiding it like I'm braiding it to the scalp, basically. And what this does, it gives it a flatter effect. With the box braids, because like if you do it overhanded while you're starting at the top, it can kind of make the braid poke out just a little bit. So I decided to just braid it like I'm braiding it to the scalp, and it makes it flatter. While I'm already back here, I just went on ahead and put the rubber bands where I need to length at, because when I get to the top, what I do is I'll braid it and then I'll pull it back. And that's the way that I even it out to make it look like it's a blunt bob. But yeah, so I'm putting the rubber bands on all the braids in the back. You don't have to do that. You can wait until you're finished completely with the whole hairstyle. It's whatever makes you comfortable, babe. It's whatever you do. So but at this time, I'm just putting the box braids on while I'm in the back section, just to do something, I guess, because sometimes I do finish the back out and then wait until I finish with the whole head to do the front. Sometimes I won't even do that until I finish with the whole head. It just depends on the mood I'm in. And this is my girl Asia, so I was just relaxed and laid back, so I was like, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. So yes, now with the rubber bands, just a word of advice, try to get them as tight as possible. And the reason of that, like I said, because this is the only thing basically holding your braid together, and you don't want later on the client, the rubber, which you can't really control that, but it helps it when the rubber band is tighter for it not to pop. Because when it pops, and that means that the braid is going to come loose, of course, which that's a good thing if you're trying to take it, if the client is trying to take it out. But it can be frustrating if she's not ready for that moment at the same time. So I do the rubber band as tight as I possibly can, and then that's when I end up dipping it at the end of the video, which you'll see, and it gives it that smaller effect. Well, not smaller effect, but it gives it that cleaner effect. How about I call it that? But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and finish putting the rubber bands at the end of it, and then I'll go ahead and just cut it. Now, when you cut it, it all depends on how the client wants her hair, of course. But what I started doing was I'll cut it probably like 1 centimeter after the rubber band, because if you do it before, it's going to look kind of weird when you dip it. Like, it's going to be like, okay, that's too much hair showing. But if it's like probably like 1 centimeter after the rubber band, then you're fine. Okay, so let me tell y'all what happened. Tell me why I came back to the camera to turn the camera off, and I didn't even realize that it didn't take the whole other side. I wasn't even recording the whole other side. That's why you see her laughing and stuff, because I'm like, girl, I can't believe I did that. So we just gonna get these last 3 rows. so that I can show you guys how it is. But you see what I mean as far as the way that I braid, so that it can kind of give a box braid look, bob look. Because you know how a section the back off from the front, and in the front I'm braiding it down, but the back I'm braiding it back, if you know what I mean. So yes, just a little tip, so you know, to help you braid in when it comes to not taking people's edges out, because I have learned that a lot of the clients that come to me have talked about past beauticians and how they're braid the edges too tight and the edges end up coming out thin, or they're just brick out completely. Just a little tip: instead of like braiding the braid like going towards the edges, braid the braid going away from the edges, if you know, and just swoop the edges into the braid, vice versa, braided it right on top of it, if you know what I mean. So it's like basically it'll be the end of the edges that'll be inside of the braid instead of the actual edges, and that'll help with preventing any hair loss or any thinning of the edges. But yeah, so I'm finishing up with my girl Asia. She did want to leave out with the the side part, I'm sorry, but she is able to, you know, put it however she desires. I did end up making a middle part for her, just in case later on, you know, she want to put a middle part in it. She can do as she pleases. Y'all see I done ran out of hair, so I had to go in my little baggie of hair to get her right, but I always will. So I'm just finishing up with the top. I think I have like 2 more braids left. With this, remember to feed it in. I definitely had to feed these 2 in, with them being at the top. Now you see me dipping the ends, but you will see a difference, like a major difference after you dip it. You'll see it's straighter, and it also makes it you see what I'm saying? It makes it look smaller at the end, so it looks more natural. My girl is very, very happy with her hair. I love her so much. Thank you, Asia, for taking the time for trusting me, for letting me do your hair, for sitting in my chair. I just thank you. I thank you all for taking the time to watch this video with me. Have a great day.